Can I really order whatever I want?
Go ahead.
Are you sure?
It's your knife.
I'm looking at that dry-aged porterhouse.
126.
I pay too much money for my upkeep to be having free conversations. I had somebody reach out to me. They have been reaching out to me in my DMs, and I was kind of ignoring it, just leaving them on red because I'm not interested. They consistently message me, and so I said, okay, I'll answer. And I said, well, I'm actually on the way to go get my hair done. You gonna contribute to that? Years ago, I was dating a guy for like 6 to 8 months, right? During those 6 to 8 months, he called me to tell me that he lost his job. I was like, okay. I waited 2 hours. I said, hey, let's meet up for a drink or something to eat or something like that. And he was like, okay, yeah, sure. As soon as we get to the spot, I look him dead in the face and I said, hey, it's not gonna work out between us. And he was like, what? Are you being serious? And I was like, yes, I am.
I started posting my hotels because I'm tired. I am tired of these dusty men in my DMs trying to take me out and take me places, okay? And when they try to take me out and take me places, I be seeing the place they want to take me. And I'm looking like, you see where I take myself.
A lot of men will lead with money, but then become upset when your expectation is for them to spend some of it on you. Ladies, men fully understand that in this dating game, there's a requirement for them to show up financially. However, a lot of men do not actually have the means to show up how they would like to financially.
Salute to Jason Black in his show, The Business. I don't always see eye to eye with him. That was the case in several times on his podcast, but there was a gentleman that came on his show. I think he was a bit nervous, but he made the point that we all are simply trying to make to the people that are detractors of guys getting their passports.
No, man. One of the things I was really wondering when people talk about like passport bros. A lot of times it's in reference to sex tourism, right? But if we're expected to wait for a real relationship until we're in our 30s, mid 30s, or if we're expected to have a relationship and then have our women, if we're unable to have a family until we're in our 30s to late 40s, isn't relationships in America also kind of sex tourism? Like you're all renting it.
Who's you all?
This is the part where I think the gentleman got a little bit flustered, but he's making a simple point. If you're going to tell guys that are going overseas that they're tourists, then what's the difference between changing countries and changing cities or locales? The same difference. You're going somewhere, you're going to have to spend money like the young lady. A $200 steak is just part of a first date. You're going to have to spend money. So the only difference is where you're spending the money. So what's the need for all the name calling? If you can go somewhere and take a young lady on a first date for $50, or you could do it in the States for $400, you're still spending money on a first date. And Jason Black's answer to that is a little bit, well, let's say that it's typical.
You have a lot of complaints. You have a lot of weird things to say. And I just thought you should know that if you're having trouble with women, this is the real foundation of your problem with them. This right here is not. So the problem right here is not with the women. The problem is with weirdo stuff like this right here. Now, I'm not going to put you out there. I'm just going to say everybody doesn't see what I see right now. But, brother, we could use a barber in the worst way if you need one with a chainsaw at this point. So what I'm saying is the grooming is not on point. And I don't know what refugee camp you escaped from. No shade. But I'm just saying you're making all kinds of accusations and statements about women. But the bottom line is looking like junkyard dog in 2025. That's not the move. That's not the way. So having negative things to say, you have to earn that right. Somebody like you, yeah, you gotta pay. Women charge you a tax. That's the thing you don't like. Fellas, when you fall below the desirability threshold, women tax you for it.
And that's the point that I wanted to bring up, that Jason Black, when he speaks ill of passport bros or guys that are going overseas, he simply says, if you don't meet the threshold for how good you need to look, then that's a you problem. But if that you problem is a height issue or a facial looks issue, you can't really do anything about that except find a place where you can maximize the way that you look. As for the money issue, that's a whole different thing, because women these days are simply telling guys that, well, even the elite men are still average.
A top tier man is just an average woman.
Real, why?
A top tier man, what we think is like, oh, he can provide like emotional support. He is responsive, communicative. When an average man does this, we tend to like glorify and think like, oh, he's such a great guy because he does all of this. But like at the end of the day, your female friend can already do this. So what can this man provide for you that your friends cannot?
I saw someone talking about the saying like a top tier man is just an average woman, and it's the realest thing ever.
There is a popular Chinese saying that goes, a top tier man is just an average woman.
A top tier man is just an average woman. Think about it. A man who doesn't smoke, doesn't drink, doesn't lie, doesn't cheat, doesn't gamble, no criminal record, stable job, cooks, cleans, emotionally stable, respects others, and is kind to his family. Somehow feels like a rare find. But almost every woman I've ever met meets those standards and more.
In this modern dating market, quote unquote average men are caught between a rock and a hard place. They're hearing young ladies essentially trying to find ways to reduce elite men into average men, which of course means the price is going to go up for the bottom edge of the quote unquote elite men. But on the other end, there is this kind of propaganda telling the average men that no matter where you go, you can't outrun your quote unquote averageness, and that anywhere you go, they're going to be just like us.
I've been there, and I wanted to talk about, where you was talking about, these Asian women. I've been to Korea, I've been to Japan, I've been to Taiwan, I've been to China. These women are not submissive. These women they're actually a lot more wild than you think, and they're about their money. You cannot be a foreign man going to those countries thinking you about to lay up with the women and it ain't gonna cost you. Because you are American, it's gonna cost you more. If it wasn't financially lucrative to them, they just lay it with their own men. So stop thinking that because you go to an Asian country that you're gonna get this sweet, demure, submissive chick. No, she's not. She'll beat your ass.
In the chat room, Rare Form said traditional value is declining everywhere. You're not getting it. You're not getting it. I'm repeating what I said. You all are making assumptions based on the internet and people wanting to go viral, posting videos, making all kinds of claims. You're making assumptions of what, quote, traditional values are.
I somewhat agree with Jason Black here, and I somewhat don't agree, simply because we don't know the ins and outs on the positive or negative side for other countries' values. All we know is that in America, our value system is when a woman hits 16 or 18, depending whatever, that woman can do anything that she wants. She is unrestricted. And if she wants to put up videos and get a former NFL football player to pay her $22 million and try and besmirch his name, and she finds a way to get the money out of him, young ladies are not only going to not shame her, they're going to applaud that behavior. And this is a man that has money. They're going to say, well, you should date in your age range if you have the money. So even if you have the money, there's still restrictions of you're supposed to date in this group of women. Otherwise, you deserve to lose your money. Now, if you're a guy who doesn't even have money or $1 million money, let's say that you're average money or a little bit above average money, these women are essentially telling you don't have the right to date here or there. But they don't understand the simple fact that if you go other places, there are very few countries on this planet where you're going to go on a first date and it's going to cost $500. And that's an expectation. Where a young lady is going to put up pictures of a hotel she stayed in and expect that from a guy that's taking her on a date. For a young lady to say that just for you to conversate me means that you need to pay me money. That is the far end of the spectrum. That's the part that unfortunately Jason Black is not talking about. For guys going to different places, young ladies may have some of these feminist concepts. No doubt about it. They are going to want money. No doubt about it. The question is, who is priced in the market in America and who's getting priced out of it? Because if you're priced out of the market in America, you really only have one option. Go somewhere where you can price yourself in the market. Point blank, period.
So I started posting on Instagram when I travel, I started posting my hotels.
I'm looking at that dry aged porterhouse.
126.
I pay too much money for my upkeep to be having free conversations.
You see where I take myself, okay? You see where I take myself, okay? The dinners that I be posting, you know those dinners cost, I don't know, 150, 200 for me, for just me, okay? For just me. They're nice places, they're fancy, whatever. My hotel rooms, you know those cost, I don't know, $400, $500 a night, maybe, for just me, okay? Why? Why do you think you should date me?
Let everybody else lie to you. I will not do that. Because I know that you cannot fix the problem if you will not face the problem. Stop pretending that there is some Eastern Asian haven, some Southern American haven, some Caribbean haven. It's like an outbreak of zombies. It's global. There is no haven. There are just varying degrees of hotspots. But there are no clean, safe, sanitized havens.
Now here, I will agree with Jason Black. He is correct here. For guys that want to go overseas and find something different, is no panacea. There's no perfect way to just get off a plane and you're in heaven, if you will. But then again, if you're starting from a place where young ladies are telling you right up front, $500 in order to be in my presence, that's a heck of a starting place. It's not what it was 10, 15 some odd years ago when a guy basically needed to take a young lady on a date, maybe a movie and dinner, and it was $100-ish. And the young lady said, you know what, thank you. And you start dating or whatever. Now it's, I deserve a life of luxury. And if you're not going to give me that, you need to move out my way because that's what I'm looking for. That's the starting point that many guys are at. And so while Jason Black is correct here, it's not an all or nothing thing. If you get off a plane and a young lady is happy for a $15 meal, then you get to take the rest of that $485 and buy some stock with it. Spend it on some training courses. Buy some some stuff that you can write off your taxes. You could use that money to do something that's going to advance your career or your business with, instead of wasting it on a young lady who expects you to pay it because she's who she is.
And most of all, even if there were, they're not waiting for you. Competition is already cutthroat. Fellas, even if these places existed, they're not just sitting around waiting for you to show up.
He's right.
And they'll eventually get it together waiting on you. They don't have 5 or 6 years for you to go sifting through the needles in the stack of needles to go figure out who's who. The fellas who are in those places, they trying to safeguard that. They don't want a bunch of competition. They see how messed up things are elsewhere. So even if these places did exist, the men who are there trying to hold on to what the hell they got.
Correct.
They're not trying to open that up to the world. They're trying to hold on to what they got. They're not trying to compete against the rest of the planet. They're trying to hold on to what they got.
And I appreciate Jason Black for ending his broadcast with this particular soliloquy, if you will. He's essentially telling guys, you can't just show up. You got to get there and you got to put your nose to the grindstone. You have to have a reason to why you're there. If you're paying attention to Japanese politics and you've paid attention to the last election, they have had some far-right nationalistic party gain seats in the national legislature because there is a kind of desire to return to some of the more conservative traditional values here. And that, of course, is going to have a bit of an effect on guys touching down here and looking to find girls to be with. That's also part of it. So when you come here, well, Jason Black's going to say it.
Stop lying to people and acting like there's some haven or some nirvana out there just waiting on you. Because it's a lie.
That's right.
When you do get there, wherever you're going, be prepared to compete.
Correct. Yes.
Be prepared to be judged. Be prepared to have to beat out the rest of your competition. Be prepared for the females to prefer good looks and money and intelligence and commanding and resourcefulness. Yeah, all the things you saw over here, it's just going to be varying degrees somewhere else.
Correct.
It's not going to be clean and sanitized.
Correct.
It'll just be varying degrees somewhere else.
I really appreciate this part of his broadcast because he's telling guys, you don't just show up and win. But then again, if you have had the opportunity to talk to a particular gentleman that I've had a chance to talk to, and if Jason Black had the chance to talk to Theo Waff, then you would have heard all of this conversation a long time ago. And I'm talking about East Asia, and so is Theo Waff.
So the Japanese people have, like I always say, the Japanese people are kind to you inversely proportional to the amount of time you stay in Japan. So if you stay in Japan for a short period of time, they're really nice to you because they know you're leaving. That's what they want. If you're going to be in Japan for a long period of time, then you either have to be domesticated, as I've talked about it many times. You have a 2-year process where you need to be domesticated to be Japanese. If you cannot be domesticated during that time, they want to get rid of you because you're an uneducated barbarian in their eyes.
And this is spot on. I tell guys, if you're going to come to Japan, your first 2 years in Japan, you shouldn't even try to get with girls. And if you do get with a girl that's going to help you learn Japanese. Although you should learn Japanese from a girl because you're going to speak Japanese like a girl. So really what you should do is get a group of guy friends and just buckle down. And I would tell you get into inside of your first 2 years here. There are 5 levels to the Japanese test. The N1 is the hardest, and it'll take you probably about 4 or 5 years to get that one if you're studying hard. But N2, you should be able to get that inside of 2 years. And if you do that, then essentially you're going to be able to function as a foreigner who understands how to operate in Japan as a foreigner, as opposed to a foreigner that's walking around wishing that this place was like where you come from. But Theo Waff is spot on here. Part of the competing is first you have to acclimate yourself to the place where you are going, especially if you want to come to a place like East Asia where they have a very strong proclivity to trying to maintain their way of life and only want to incorporate people who understand and appreciate that.
They'll just get rid of you. Now, if you can be domesticated to their system, they like you. So they're not talking, when they say anti-immigration sentiment, they're not talking about those foreigners.
That's right.
They're like, hey, look, you're cool. Yeah, you understand us. You actually are doing our system. Cool. Yeah, so if you're trying to run through Japanese women, they're not too happy about that.
No.
But what they will say to you is, marry a Japanese woman, she takes your salary and gives you a stipend, and then you make 2 or 3 kids with her. That's what we expect from you.
It's really important for guys to understand that if you want to come to this country, especially now, and just have fun with young ladies, there's a level, a group of young ladies that may hang out at the kinds of bars that favor foreigners that haven't studied Japanese, where you can go and have your fun with those young ladies. I don't think people will really care. But if you're trying to befriend the young ladies that are, as they say here, shakaijin, I mean, they're all shakaijin, but shakaijin in Japanese society, and they're okay with having a persona in Japan where, you know, they want to be perceived as Japan and not an outsider, then they're going to want those young ladies to marry either Japanese men and have families or foreigners who understand Japan and have families. What they don't want is for those young ladies to marry foreigners who are going to try and make her a foreigner here. Especially if it's a young lady, she has classmates, she has workmates. It's just not going to be a good fit, especially if they meet you and you can't even really talk to them. Maybe the first couple of years, you know, you being a foreigner might be novel. But after a few years of that, like, they're going to say simply, you've been here 3-4 years. What's wrong? You haven't taken the time to learn our language. That's why I say guys should learn it up front. But that said, that's only the beginning, because if you want to start a business, if you want to do some import export, you want to work a corporate job, you got to be able to speak a language. There's no substitute for it.
And if you're not doing that, then you're really not a part of our system.
Nope.
That's Japan. So this kind of conservatism is very normal. I saw it. I saw it when I was a kid. I saw it, but definitely from '97 on, I saw it all the time. So what she's not saying anything new. Now the Japanese politicians, right-wing politicians, have said bad things about foreigners all the time. Even when I was there, it was a normal thing. I never really cared about it, but it was a very, very, very normal thing. So what would happen is, they always said, like Ishihara, I remember him, what a punk. He always said that if there was a earthquake, then all the foreigners would riot. And that didn't happen at all. There was an earthquake and all the Westerners left. Straight up.
He said that?
I think it was Ishihara. I hated Ishihara. It was just a real punk, but he was a politician. I think he may still, I don't know if he's still there or not. What is it? What they're talking about at this time really are Chinese and Thai. There's a lot of Chinese and Thai immigrants in the country. The regulations for British and American citizens to be in Japan are actually very high. We have to have.
Actually, he would say if he were here now, it's Nepalese. There are quite a few Nepalese. I mean, they're the Chinese, of course, but he's essentially saying that many of the foreigners come to Japan and they don't assimilate. They form their own cliques. They do their own thing. They go to the parks and maybe aren't as clean as they could be. And that's really where a lot of the anti-foreigner sentiment is coming from. But then again, as Americans from the West, we have higher standards. We have to fulfill to come here. So if you're going to come here, the least you could do is fulfill those standards or even succeed them or supersede them, if you will. Because if you do that, then it's just going to end up better for you.
Have university degrees in order to get a working visa. And then we have the minimum salary we could have monthly is 250,000 yen. And if we don't, Nishugo money. And if you don't make that, if you've not paid that, you can't work in Japan. And that's to make sure that you are not competing against low-skilled Japanese, like low-skilled Japanese labor. Chinese and Koreans, sorry, Chinese and Vietnamese and Thai, they can do it though. So what she's talking about has nothing to do with Westerners. This is all about different countries. But again, the number one international marriage in Japan is Japanese men with women from China, Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia.
Mm-hmm.
So what is she really talking about? And again, in their passport persona is saying Japanese have always been nationalist. Yes, they have always been nationalist. Always. And they're very similar to the Americans in their nationalism.
That's right.
So
I think it's important to hear both of those points of view, because when you listen to Jason Black, he's essentially telling guys, if you don't have your A's and B's together, you don't have everything in your ducks in a row, if you will, then you shouldn't consider going overseas. But what Theo Waff is telling you is that if you go to a country like Japan, you're going to have to do that anyways, because they're going to look at you as a foreigner and say, basically, when are you leaving? Which I've heard so many times. And the more that my Japanese developed, the question turned into, how's your wife? How's your family? And then the question turned into, what are your plans for Japan? And it stopped being, when are you leaving Japan? And that was directly proportional to my ability to speak the language. I don't know South America. I can't speak for it. But what I can say is that you go to East Asia in particular, and you want to have a life here, you need to just bite the bullet, spend 2 years, and learn the language. And never rest on your laurels, ever. Because there's always more money you can make. There's always more improvement you can do. There's always something extra you can do to improve your situation. And if you continue to do that, and you're somewhat judicious, if you are not running through young ladies that you're not supposed to be running through, then people here will not only accept you as a foreigner that they can tolerate, but some of them will actually take you in as part of their quote-unquote foreigner family. I would say that any person trying to come to East Asia should at least get a piece of that if they do it the right way, because they'll really enjoy it. But it all begins with the fact that if you're in a situation where young ladies are basically telling you to pay to be in their presence, and you have a choice between that and going somewhere else, well, going somewhere else begins not just with you getting a ticket and going to another country, but it begins with you creating a new you. And that, of course, requires work. So you can fly out, but when you fly out, make sure you ice out your abilities. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment below. I'll catch you in the next video. Take care, guys.